If you sat for more than 6 hours today, and genuinely, most people watching this right now did, there's a specific process happening inside your leg muscles that most doctors don't bring up at checkups, and that most health content never explains clearly enough to actually be useful. Your legs are losing functional strength at nearly 3 times the rate of someone who simply breaks their sitting up, not because of age, not because of genetics, because of a biological signal your body sends every time you stay still for too long. And once you understand what that signal actually is, these 5 fixes will make complete sense to you instead of just feeling like a list of things to try. None of them require a gym, none of them require getting on the floor. A couple of them you can do without leaving whatever chair you're sitting in right now. I'm going to explain each one fully, the what, the why, and how to do it correctly. Because doing these incorrectly is one of the main reasons people try this kind of thing, feel like nothing happened, and give up. Quick note before we get into it, this channel is called Life Advice for Older People. We post twice a week, and we cover the kind of health and lifestyle information that's genuinely useful for people over 60, explained clearly, without talking down to you. If that's what you're looking for, subscribe before this video ends. What we're covering Thursday involves something that almost no one is talking about, and it directly affects millions of older adults who take common blood pressure medication. You'll want that one? Now let's talk about what's actually happening inside your legs. There's a term researchers use called disuse atrophy. It sounds clinical, but the concept is straightforward. Your muscle fibers, particularly the slow twitch fibers in your legs that handle posture, stability, and everyday movement, only stay strong when they're regularly activated. When you sit for extended periods, your body reads that stillness as a signal. The signal says, these muscles aren't being used. And the body, which is extraordinarily efficient at conserving energy, begins to scale back its investment in maintaining them. It stops sending as many nutrients to those fibers. It reduces the rate at which it repairs micro damage. Over time, not years, we're talking weeks, the fibers themselves begin to shrink. Now I'm going to explain one more layer of this, something that happens in your circulation that compounds the muscle problem. And then we're going straight into the fixes. I want you to have this context because it explains why Fix 2 works the way it does. It'll take about a minute and it's worth it. Research tracking adults over 65 has found consistently across multiple studies that sedentary older adults experience functional leg decline at nearly 3 times the rate of those who broke up their sitting, even briefly, even once an hour. That finding has shown up in research from exercise science, gerontology, and physical therapy, and the number that keeps appearing is that 3 times figure. It's not a dramatic outlier result, it's a consistent pattern. Now, you might be wondering what functional decline actually looks like in real life. Because leg function sounds abstract, here's what it looks like concretely. It's the extra moment it takes to get up from the couch, the slight forward lean you've started doing, the hand on the armrest that you didn't used to need. It's stairs feeling slightly different than they did 2 or 3 years ago. It's the feeling toward the end of the day that your legs are heavier than they should be, or that your balance feels slightly less automatic than it once did. These are not just signs of getting older. These are signs of disuse. And the distinction is critical because aging is not something you can reverse, but disuse absolutely is. There's something else happening when you sit for long periods that most people aren't told about, and it compounds the muscle issue significantly. When you sit still, blood circulation in your lower legs slows considerably. Your calf muscles, when they're active, act essentially as a second pump for your circulatory system, contracting with each step and pushing blood back up toward your heart. When those muscles are still, that pumping action stops. Blood pools in your lower legs and feet. That pooling means less oxygen delivery to your leg muscles, less nutrient delivery, and a slower removal of metabolic waste products that accumulate in the tissue. Some of you will recognize this as the heaviness or mild swelling you notice in your lower legs by late afternoon or evening. It's not just uncomfortable, it's actively contributing to the decline in muscle function we're talking about. Here's the good news, and I want to say this clearly so it lands properly. The research on this is genuinely encouraging. Because the body's response to disuse is rapid, the body's response to reactivation is also surprisingly rapid. You don't need to undo years of decline with months of hard exercise. Small, consistent interruptions to prolonged sitting produce measurable improvements in leg strength and circulation within 2 to 4 weeks for most people. The threshold for enough movement to counteract disuse is much lower than most people assume. Your body is not looking for a workout, it's looking for a signal, a consistent signal that says these muscles are still in use. Keep investing in them. That's what these 5 fixes are designed to do. Each one sends a different signal to a different part of your leg musculature. Together, used consistently, they create the kind of daily activation pattern that the research associates with preserving, and in many cases recovering, functional leg strength. Let's go through them. Fix number 1, the commercial stand. This is the entry point, and I'm starting here because it has the lowest barrier of anything on this list. The fix is this. Every time a commercial break comes on, you stand up. That's it. You don't need to walk anywhere. You don't need to do anything in particular. You stand up and you stay standing until the commercial break ends, or for about 60 seconds, whichever comes first. If you're streaming and there are no commercials, stand at the end of every episode or set a timer for every 45 minutes. But the principle is the same. I know what this sounds like. It sounds too simple to matter. So let me explain why it actually works. Because the mechanism is real. Standing activates a set of muscles that sitting completely switches off, your postural muscles. These include the muscles along your spine, the muscles in your glutes, and the stabilizing muscles around your knees and ankles. When you stand, even passively, even without moving, these muscles engage just enough to hold you upright. That engagement counts as activation. It interrupts the disuse signal. It also changes your blood pressure dynamics. Standing causes your cardiovascular system to make small but meaningful adjustments, which increases circulation to your lower legs almost immediately. Over a 2-hour period of watching television with standard commercial breaks, you're looking at roughly 7 or 8 interruptions. If you stand for 60 seconds each time, that's close to 8 minutes of postural muscle activation that wasn't happening before. Spread across a week, that adds up in a way that your body actually registers. Research specifically on standing interruptions, not general exercise, just breaking up sitting, shows measurable improvement in postural stability in older adults over a 6-week period. The most common mistake with this one is not doing it because it feels too easy to count. That's the wrong way to think about it. It counts. The size of the action is not what determines whether it's worth doing. The consistency of it is. That's the first piece, and it handles the disuse interruption. Fix 2 handles something different, the circulation side of the problem. And this one you can do without standing up at all. Fix number 2, the seated heel pump. This one is for the moments when standing isn't practical, or for people who find getting up and down from a chair difficult or painful. It's done entirely from a seated position, and it specifically targets the blood pooling problem I described earlier. Here's how you do it. Sit with both feet flat on the floor, hip width apart. Keeping your toes in contact with the floor, slowly raise both heels as high as they'll comfortably go. Hold that position for a full 3 seconds. Not a quick bounce, a held contraction. Then slowly lower your heels back to the floor. That's 1 repetition. Do 10. Rest for about 30 seconds if you need to. Then do 10 more. The 3-second hold is not optional. It's the most important part, and most people skip it. Here's why it matters. A quick lift and lower doesn't create enough sustained tension in the calf muscle to trigger the circulatory pumping response we're looking for. The calf muscle needs to remain contracted for a moment to push the pooled blood in your lower leg back up into the venous system. 3 seconds is the minimum threshold for this effect. If you rush it, you're moving your foot, but you're not producing the circulatory benefit. This is where most people get it wrong. They do the motion without the hold and wonder why nothing changes. Your calves are remarkably important muscles for your overall health as you age, far more important than most people realize. Beyond the circulation function, strong calves contribute directly to balance and ankle stability, which are 2 of the primary physical factors in fall prevention. When your ankle stability is compromised, your body compensates by putting more load on your knees and hips, which accelerates wear on those joints. Keeping your calves strong and active is protective in ways that extend well beyond the legs themselves. Do this exercise 2 or 3 times during any extended sitting period. It takes about 2 minutes total. Most people notice a reduction in lower leg heaviness and swelling within the first week, which tells you the circulation effect is real and it's working. So now you have 2 tools for managing the sitting problem in real time. Fix 3 is different from both of those. It's not about interrupting sitting, it's about timing something you already do. And the timing is everything. Fix number 3, the after-meal walk window. This one surprises people the most, and I think it's because the way it's framed is completely different from how people usually think about walking for health. Most people think of a walk as exercise, something you do when you're trying to get your heart rate up or burn some calories. What I'm describing here is different. I'm describing a specific metabolic window that opens after you eat, particularly after lunch or dinner, where walking does something almost entirely unrelated to calorie burning. Here's what happens. When you eat, your body begins releasing glucose from the food into your bloodstream. It also signals various tissues in your body to uptake that glucose for energy and repair. Your muscles are major sites of glucose uptake, but only when they're active. A resting muscle doesn't absorb circulating nutrients at the same rate as a working muscle. Researchers who work in diabetes management actually identified this first. They found that light walking after eating improves the way muscles take in glucose compared to sitting still after the same meal. The magnitude of the difference matters less than the direction of it. Your leg muscles use what you eat better when they're moving than when they're not. And that becomes more relevant after 60 because the body's ability to convert nutrition into muscle maintenance becomes less automatic over time. This is one of those places where a small, timed action does something that no amount of sitting can replicate, regardless of what you ate. You do not need to walk far, fast, or strenuously for this to work. A 5-minute walk, slow, comfortable, the kind of pace where you could hold a full conversation without effort, is enough to activate the leg muscles sufficiently during that window. Walk to the end of your driveway and back. Walk around the block if you feel like it. Walk around the inside of your house if the weather is bad. The distance is almost irrelevant. The timing, and within 20 minutes of finishing your meal, is what matters. Think of it this way. If you were going to water a plant, you'd water it right after you fertilized the soil, not 2 hours later. The nutrients are most available, and the uptake is most efficient immediately after delivery. This is the same principle applied to your body. The first 3 fixes are about protecting what you have, slowing the decline, improving circulation, making better use of nutrition. Fixes 4 and 5 are different. These are the ones that actually rebuild strength. And if you only have energy for 2 things on this list, make it these 2. Quick pause here. If this has been useful so far, the best thing you can do right now is subscribe. Not for us, for you. We post twice a week, specifically for people over 60 who want real, practical information about staying strong, staying independent, and staying sharp. Everything we cover is backed by research, but explained in plain language. Hit subscribe and ring the bell so the next video comes straight to you, because what we're covering Thursday is something almost no one is talking about, and it directly affects anyone taking common blood pressure or cholesterol medication. You won't want to miss it. Now, fixes 4 and 5. Fix number 4, chair-assisted sit-to-stands. This is the single most functionally important exercise on this list. I want to be direct about that because I don't want you to treat it as optional. If you only do one thing from this video consistently, make it this one. Here's why. The movement pattern of sitting down and standing up from a chair is the primary movement that determines whether you can live independently. Getting on and off the toilet, getting in and out of a car, getting up from a restaurant chair, getting out of bed in the morning. Every one of those movements is a variation of the sit to stand. The muscles it uses, your quadriceps at the front of your thighs, your glutes, and your core stabilizers, are the same muscles that decline fastest from prolonged sitting, because sitting puts them in a fully relaxed, shortened position for hours. And they're the same muscles that, when weak, lead most directly to falls. Physical therapists and researchers who work specifically in fall prevention have been using the sit to stand as a functional benchmark for years. And the reason is straightforward. The number of sit-to-stands someone can do is one of the most reliable predictors of fall risk that exists. It's not a coincidence that this specific movement is used as a clinical test. It's used because it measures exactly the muscle quality that keeps people upright and stable in everyday life. Here's how to do it correctly. Sit toward the front third of a sturdy chair, not all the way back against the backrest. Place your feet flat on the floor, roughly hip-width apart. Cross your arms over your chest. This is important. Crossing your arms removes the temptation to push up with your hands, which shifts the work away from your legs and defeats the purpose. Now lean slightly forward from your hips, not your waist, your hips, until you feel your weight shift onto your feet. Then stand up using your legs. Once you're fully standing, pause for 1 second at the top. Then sit back down, slowly. That slow sit down is where most people lose the benefit of this exercise. They stand up correctly and then drop back into the chair. What you want is a controlled lowering, taking 2 to 3 full seconds to sit back down. That controlled lowering phase is actually where the majority of the muscle-building stimulus comes from. It's more important than the standing up portion. Control the descent every single time, and you will double the effectiveness of this exercise. Do 10 repetitions. If 10 feels too easy, rest 30 seconds and do 10 more. If 10 feels like too many, start with 5 and build from there. The target over time is 10 controlled repetitions twice per day, once in the morning and once in the afternoon. This doesn't eliminate muscle loss completely. Nothing reverses aging entirely. but it directly slows the rate of decline in the muscles that matter most for your daily independence, and it does so more efficiently than almost any other single movement you could do. Fix 4 works on the muscles that move you. Fix 5 works on the muscles that hold you, and that distinction matters more than it might sound. Fix number 5, the wall sit hold. I want to address the reaction some people have when they hear wall sit because I understand it. It sounds like something from a high school gym class. It sounds athletic and uncomfortable. And if you've ever done a proper athletic wall sit, it is uncomfortable, but the version I'm describing is different in a way that makes it accessible to almost everyone, and the specific benefit it provides is not replicated by anything else on this list. Here's what it does. A wall sit hold creates sustained isometric tension in your quadriceps, the 4 muscles at the front of your thighs. Isometric means the muscle is working hard without actually moving through a range of motion. Your quads are under load, but your knee joint isn't bending repeatedly. For people with knee pain or sensitivity, that distinction is significant. You get the muscle-strengthening stimulus without the repetitive joint movement that can aggravate inflammation. Your quadriceps are the primary stabilizers of your knee joint. When they're strong, your knees track properly, your gait is stable, and the load through your knee is distributed evenly. When they weaken, and they weaken faster than almost any other muscle group from prolonged sitting, your knee mechanics change. The joint takes more direct impact, the cartilage wears less evenly, the connection between weak quads and knee pain in older adults is well established, and prolonged sitting is one of the main drivers. Here's how to do the version I recommend. Stand with your back flat against a solid wall, walk your feet forward about 18 inches, and slide your back down the wall until your knees are at a comfortable angle. You do not need to go to 90 degrees, that's the athletic version. Start with a gentle angle, maybe 110 or 120 degrees. Where you feel your quads working, but you're not in pain. Hold that position for 10 seconds, then slide back up to standing. Rest for 15 to 20 seconds, then do it again. If 10 seconds is too long initially, start with 5. That is fine. 5 seconds of real quad engagement is worth more than 10 seconds done incorrectly. If the position feels unstable, put a chair directly in front of you so you can touch it lightly for balance. You don't need to grip it. Just having it there removes the anxiety about stability that sometimes makes this harder than it needs to be. The goal over 4 to 6 weeks is to build toward holding for 30 seconds at a time, 3 repetitions per session. Most people find they can feel a meaningful difference in how their legs feel on stairs within about 3 weeks of doing this consistently. Not because 30 seconds a day is a dramatic amount of exercise, it isn't, but because the quads respond relatively quickly to this kind of targeted tension when they've been largely switched off by sitting. You'll still deal with some leg fatigue, and you won't feel like a different person overnight, but the stair test tends to be where people first notice that something is genuinely changing. Now let's talk about how to actually use all of this, because this is the part most health content skips. They give you the list, say goodbye, and nothing changes because you don't have a realistic starting point. Here's a first week that actually works for most people. Pick 2 of the 5 fixes, just 2, and commit to doing them every day for 7 days. Don't try all 5 on day 1. Not because you can't, but because building a new habit works best when the initial commitment is small enough that there's no good excuse to skip it. I'd suggest starting with Fix 1 and Fix 4, the commercial stand and the chair-assisted sit-to-stands, because together they cover both the disuse interruption and the direct strength building in the muscles that matter most. Do the sit-to-stands in the morning before you've been sitting long, when your legs are as fresh as they're going to be. Do the standing during TV time in the evening. In week 2, add Fix 2, the seated heel pumps. Start doing them during any extended sitting, whether that's watching television, reading, or sitting at a table. They take about 2 minutes, and you can do them without interrupting anything else you're doing. In week 3, add Fix 3 if you're not already doing it, the post-meal walk, even 3 to 5 minutes, even slow. By week 4, if you want to add the wall sit, you'll have built enough of a foundation that it won't feel like starting from scratch. Now, what should you expect to feel, and when? Because this is where most health content is unrealistically optimistic, and I'd rather give you the honest version. In the first 1 to 2 weeks, don't expect dramatic physical changes in your strength. What you will likely notice is that your legs feel less heavy at the end of the day. The pooling and circulation effect from the heel pumps and the standing interruptions tends to show up fairly quickly. Some people notice this within the first 3 or 4 days. That's real, and it's a sign the process is working even if your strength hasn't changed yet. Between weeks 2 and 4, you'll likely start to notice the sit-to-stands feeling slightly easier. Not dramatically, but the controlled lowering will feel more under control than it did at the start. That's a real signal that your quads are responding. By weeks 4 to 6, most people who've been consistent report something specific. The stairs feel different, more stable, more automatic, less something you have to think about. That's the postural muscle improvement showing up in real life. That's what we're working toward. Not a fitness number, not a performance metric, but a functional one. The kind of thing that quietly changes the quality of your daily life without making a big announcement about it. One important thing before we close: if you have significant joint pain, cardiovascular conditions, or any health situation you're actively managing with a doctor, it's worth mentioning any new exercise routine at your next appointment. These fixes are gentle and low impact, but your doctor knows specifics about your situation that general health content can't account for. This information is designed to work alongside the relationship you have with your healthcare provider, not to replace it. If this was useful, subscribe. We're here twice a week with this kind of content. Thursday's video is one I think a lot of you are going to find genuinely eye-opening, especially if you or someone you care about is taking medication for blood pressure or cholesterol. We'll see you then.